selection is like a race of attrition. You generally start with around 150 to 170. In the first 3 weeks, you're probably down to around 50. So it's easy to quit. I think when that happens, like you see their weakness and puts you up a level, right? I was 19 years old turning up at basic training, and you know, I still had that like element of that fat shy kid that was like chasing me around. So like when I turned up, I remember turning up at the train station, and you all meet in the same location, and like the screws or the corporals come and take you up to the camp. And I remember looking around at the other lads and just thinking, like there's some big lads, but everyone looks stronger and fitter than you, or like more confident, or you know, you just have this perception of them, and they're probably, you know, looking back now, they're doing exactly the same. They're looking at you going like, fuck, like these guys are stronger, fitter than me. I think it's just something that humans have got ingrained into them. And then, yeah, you jump in the minibuses and drive and get thrown like a set of like Ron Hills and a maroon jumper, and that's you. You like get your head shaved and you're initiated into the transformation camp from civilian to soldier. And it is literally that, right? You turn up as a civilian, you know, wide-eyed, eager, and you leave as a soldier. And it takes 6 months. And yeah, like, do you know what? I kind of shocked myself getting through that, because I was never the fittest. Like I was never the strongest. I was never at the front. Like, and we used to do these exercises where, you know, it'd be a warm up before we went on a tab, and the PTIs would, you know, point to a tree and just say, right, everyone to that tree and back, last 10, go again. And I'd always be in that last 10. And then it'd be right, go again, last 5, go again. And I'd always be in that last 5. But I kind of like, I had a bit of a theory around that. And I guess because I was never the fittest, never the strongest, but I've always completed stuff and always hung on. So I've always been used to being, you know, in that fatigue state. Like that's quite normal for me, which, as we all know, that builds resilience and that builds a stronger mind and body. Whereas the front runners, they were just used to, you know, running at their normal pace and just being okay with that. So, you know, when you deploy to places like the jungle or some of these harsher environments, like where everyone is on that level of fatigue, like for me, it was just normal. And you'd see some of the fittest people just fall over and, you know, collapse with heat stroke, or, you know, just not be able to carry on just because of the conditions. My head goes empty when you're in that dark place. I've just always been someone who can put one foot in front of the other. And I think if you break down any mental or physical challenge, it's just a case of progression. And as long as you can keep that momentum and keep that progression going forward, you'll get to where you need to go. I'm in my comfort zone when I'm fatigued. So, you know, that I just know that I can just keep, you break it down, right? And it's just one step. And then the next step's just one step. And just, you know, forget about where it is that you need to go and just concentrate on that next step. And like the rest is just time, and time moves, right? Time ticks down, and then eventually you just find yourself in that position.
Just a quick interruption from the video. I want to talk about our paid partnership with BetterHelp. As you guys are aware, I've always been super open about my mental health, anxiety, depression. For a long time, the way I would deal with that is by burying those emotions, working really hard, running hundreds of miles, and burying those feelings deep down inside. That's why over the last 2 years, I have stuck to online therapy. Weekly online therapy, and it's been absolutely incredible. It was a massive weight off my shoulders. I know I'm not the only person who feels like this, but sometimes it can feel like you are. and you can feel super alone in that anxiety, that depression. And then we have to add the mix of social media in there. For somebody like myself, I'm on social media all the time for work, but so many other people look on there and see these highlight reels of people's lives that's just not true reality. All of these things can be super overwhelming. For a lot of people, we decide to keep it to ourselves. We think we can battle through, we can push through. That's why I turned to online therapy, and you can too with BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a credentialed therapist who can help navigate whatever you're going through. It's an online platform, so you can do your sessions from wherever feels comfortable. And if the first therapist isn't a right fit, you can switch at no extra cost. Most people using BetterHelp are looking for support with anxiety, and 69% report improvement after just 6 weeks. Therapy helped me shift my perspective, process things in a way I couldn't do alone, and actually start feeling lighter. If you've been thinking about therapy, this might be the right sign to give it a go. Click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/Mulligan Brothers for 10% off your first month of therapy. Let BetterHelp rule your anxiety, so anxiety doesn't rule you. Let's get back to the video.
Selection is like a race of attrition, and you generally start with around 150 to 170. In the first 3 weeks, you're probably down to around 50, and then you go out on the next phase and you could come back with, say, 20, 25 people, which is probably a good course. And then the rest of it's just training to get you ready to join the squadron. I think for me, like, I enjoyed selection. Like, there wasn't one day when I woke up and just went that I didn't want to be here. It was more just about just proving to myself that I could get through each day. And I kind of found enjoyment in seeing people fall off. I think a lot of people do, as in not in a bad way, right? I didn't rub anyone's face in it. But when you're doing things that are difficult and you've got an easy option to get out, like you can literally VW and, you don't hand a number in. You literally VW and you can just walk off and pack your kit and go. And you'll be in a warm shower and bath and, whatever food you want. So it's easy to quit, which makes it, the majority of people do quit. I think when that happens, like you see their weakness and it puts you up a level, right? It puts you up a level of, puts your strength up a little bit. So yeah, I enjoyed those 6 months on selection. And I think as the less able members or the less able soldiers start to drop off, you end up with a tight-knit bunch of guys that have all been through the same shit. And you form bonds through those dark times. You counteract it with a bit of humour. At the end, you're left with a good group of lads. Resilience is probably one of the biggest things for soldiers to have. And being a soldier will teach you about resilience. And all resilience is just an ability to be able to do difficult things. But then, I think a lot of special forces soldiers, highly motivated people, intelligent people, not necessarily like IQ, which is, just intelligence, right? So being able to remember a lot of detail and more kind of a situational intelligence and an emotional intelligence. Because at the end of the day, if you're in the special forces, you're working with a group or a team, and you're all going out and taking actions under high stress environments. And then you've got to be able to read those environments well. And then obviously a base level of decent fitness that you can work on. But like every special forces soldier just wants to get better at what he's doing. And it's a high, it's a high testosterone, high alpha male environment where everyone's just trying to outdo each other secretly, and everyone wants to be better at it. Everyone wants to be better than everyone else at shooting or whatever it is. It's a good environment to be in. It can be quite intimidating when you first start, because especially me, like I was 24 when I passed selection, and like the rest of the guys in my troop were all late 30s, early 40s. They're all men. And so it's quite intimidating. And they've already got high standards, right? They've been using all the kit and equipment and doing runouts way before I've turned up. So it's, I've now, like, I've done a 6-month course, right, which is selection, but that doesn't mean that I'm a special forces soldier. Like, that comes after. Like, when you start training with the teams, when you start learning different crafts. I went away and became a medic, became a high altitude parachutist. Like, all these different skills and experiences that you learn that you can then bring to the team. So yeah, it's, you want to prove yourself and you want to feel accepted.